Before hip-hop, before funk, it all started with jazz. These 5 timeless records didn't just change the sound, they define what cool means, and if you collect vinyl, they belong on your shelf, period. Hey guys, welcome back to the apartment Audiophile. And if it's your first time here, I'm Charles Pepin, raised in a house where speakers change faster than light bulbs, and I've been working in video production for over 15 years. So yeah, my ears are trained by my passion for music and movies. This channel is all about audio without the snobbery part. Gear reviews, album picks, and practical hacks for small space audiophiles. If it's not already done, make sure to hit subscribe and that bell notification. It's the simplest way to keep this channel spinning. Every sub means I can spend less time fighting YouTube's algorithm and more time fighting speaker placement. So thank you for your support. Alright, so don't throw rocks at me about that thumbnail in the video. I was kidding about Time Out by Dave Brubeck. Don't get me wrong here, I freaking love this album. And this copy is my father's. It was literally my gateway album into jazz. So yeah, for sure this album is a classic that you should add to your collection. But I feel like everyone's got it, so I wanted to suggest something else than Time Out and Kind of Blue by Miles Davis. Speaking of gateway albums, if you haven't seen my previous video, I'm covering 10 gateway albums for people who think they hate jazz. And if you are a jazz snob, I'm absolutely convinced that you can catch some cool records you haven't heard before. But today, we're leveling up. We're talking about the records every serious collector should own. The ones that didn't just define jazz, they reshaped it. If Cool had a trumpet solo, it would sound like Lee Morgan. At just 25, Lee Morgan had already played with Dizzy Gillespie and Art Blakey and was seen as the next great trumpet voice. Then came the Sidewinder, and it blew up, like hit the Billboard's charts, blew up. Yep, a jazz tune on the pop charts, crazy right? The Sidewinder wasn't just a jazz record, it was a crossover event. Chrysler used the title track in a commercial, and the outcome became Blue Note's best-selling record ever, breaking the previous sales record and saving the label from near bankruptcy. Needless to say, he was the young gun of the Blue Note era. Basically the LeBron James of hard bop. Musically, the Sidewinder took hard bop, that muscular, soulful style of jazz, and fused it with a danceable groove. It had funk before funk existed. The rhythm sections lock in like a James Brown jam, and Morgan's solo has this swaggers that's impossible to fake. This record is a perfect gateway between soul jazz and hard bop. It swings, it struts, and the groove feels like it could have been sampled by J Dilla. Why it is an essential? Well, it bridges classic jazz and modern rhythm. It's insanely well recorded. That Rudy Van Gelder production is pure butter. The horns shimmer, the drums crack, and the bass walks right into your chest. And honestly, that bass line could make a statue tap its foot. That tight groove and soulful horn phrasing shaped what became soul jazz and fusion, paving the way for artists like Freddie Hubbard, Herbie Hancock, can't tell who Island owned this album a drink, and later even influenced hip-hop producers. You can hear the Sidewinder's DNA in A Tribe Called Quest Excursions. Put this one on your turntable when you want your living room to feel like 1964 Harlem after midnight. If jazz had a church, this album will be Sunday service. Art Blakey wasn't just a drummer, he was a movement. His jazz messengers were basically the University of Hard Bop. Every great player of the 50s and 60s, Lee Morgan, Wayne Shorter, Freddie Hubbard, graduated from this band. Moanin opens with that instantly recognizable piano riff from Bobby Timmons, gospel-inspired, call and response, and then the horns answer like a preacher in his score. It's joyful, greedy, and deeply human. You can feel the sweat, the smoke, the energy of a packed club. This record matters because it turned jazz back towards its blues and gospel roots, giving it its soul and fire. It's a masterclass in swing with substance. Moanin is basically the textbook definition of hard bop. It's raw church energy meets modern jazz sophistication. Each tune feels alive. Listen to Blues March and you can almost see a parade coming down the street. Everyone from Wynton Marsalis to Christian McBride to Robert Glasper owns a debt to Blakey's band-leading model. The idea that jazz could be earthy and virtuosic at the same time. You can also hear this album's DNA in modern jazz collectives like Snarky Puppy or Butcher Brown, groups that blend tight arrangements with raw energy. Quick bonus vinyl tip. If you can find the Blue Note Tone Poet edition, it is unreal. Blakey's cymbals shimmer like they're in your apartment. Just maybe don't play it after midnight. Your neighbors might start moaning too. Now we're moving into jazz funk territory, and this one's criminally underrated. Donald Byrd started as a hard bop trumpeter. He played with Coltrane and Sonny Rollins, but he refused to stay stuck in the past. So in the 70s, he teamed up with the Mizell brothers, the same duo behind Bobby Humphrey's Blacks and Blues, who brought their futuristic funk production, and together they created Stepping Into Tomorrow. Think funky bass lines, spacey synths, and grooves smoother than your landlord's excuses for not fixing the heating. Stepping Into Tomorrow is the definition of cool. It's jazz you can actually dance to. This album matters because it is the sound of jazz evolving. Byrd proved that you could embrace electric instruments, R&B grooves, and still make art that swung. Stepping Into Tomorrow basically is the missing link between Miles Davis, Bitches Brew, and modern neo-soul. It's perfect for late night listening or hosting friends who think jazz is just elevator music. This record birthed the DNA of acid jazz and jazz hop. You can trace its lineage straight to Jay Dilla, A Tribe Called Quest, Erykah Badu, and Thundercat. The track Think Twice has been sampled by over 30 hip-hop artists, and Stepping Into Tomorrow is one of Pharrell Williams' favorite albums of all time. So yeah, this record didn't just influence jazz musicians, it changed music production itself. So first thing first, shout out to 8 Broadway, who commented on my top 5 albums to test your hi-fi system, who made me discover this album. This one's for you, my friend. Kenny Burrell made his big debut with Dizzy Gillespie back in 1951, and from there, he never stopped. Over the decades, he recorded more than 80 albums as a bandleader and played alongside legends like Oscar Peterson, John Coltrane, Billie Holiday, and Jimmy Smith, with whom he dropped the iconic organ grinder swing in '65. Midnight Blues feels like the soundtrack to a dimly lit bar where the bartender already knows your order. Burrell was one of the smoothest jazz guitarists ever. His tone was like liquid velvet. Midnight Blue is the perfect marriage of jazz sophistication and blues simplicity. It's sparse, moody, and dripping with atmosphere. You've got Stanley Tarantine on tenor sax, bringing that smoky, light night feel, never flashy, always tasteful. It's minimal, moody, and incredibly melodic. You don't have to understand jazz to feel this record. This album showed that jazz didn't have to be complex to be deep. Burrell proved that emotion could live in the spaces between the notes. And as a guitarist myself, I think it's one of the most approachable and emotionally rich jazz guitar records ever made. You can hear Burrell's DNA in players like George Benson, John Scofield, and even Bill Frisell, guitarists who built entire careers balancing groove and melody. In 2005, NPR included the album in its basic jazz library, describing it as one of the great jazzy blues records. And if you listen closely, you'll hear echoes of Midnight Blue in your lo-fi jazz playlist on Spotify. Pro tip: play this record late at night, lights low, with a good single malt in hand. It will make your Rig Up Lyra 3 sound like a $10,000 setup. You've probably heard that opening piano riff, even if you never heard the album. That's because Steely Dan straight up borrowed it for Ricky Don't Lose That Number. Horace Silver was one of the architects of hard bop, a pianist with a gift for melody and rhythm. Song for My Father is his masterpiece, a heartfelt tribute to his Cape Verdean father, blending African, Latin, and American influences into something deeply joyful and personal. Why it matters? It's jazz that sings. Every melody is memorable. It captures the sweet spot between sophistication and soul. This album brought world rhythms into jazz in a natural, groovy way long before world music was even a marketing term. It's melodic, accessible, and full of groove. It's an emotional record without being heavy. It's the perfect coffee and contemplation album for Sunday mornings. I mean, everyone from Herbie Hancock to Robert Glasper to Corey Henry stands on Silver's shoulders. That blend of gospel harmony, Latin rhythm, and melodic accessibility shaped the sound of modern jazz piano. Even artists outside jazz like Steely Dan, Jamiroquai, and Hiatus Coyote all part of their DNA to this record's groove. This is the kind of jazz that makes people fall in love with jazz. So there you have it, 5 essential records that should belong in your collection. From Blakey's Thunder to Byrd's Funk, these albums prove that jazz isn't old, it's eternal. If you're just starting your jazz journey, make sure to check out my other video, 10 gateway jazz albums for people who think they hate jazz. That one's the intro course. This one's the graduate seminar. And if you already own a few of these, tell me which one you spin the most or which one I should have included in this video. I love hearing your stories and your recommendations. If you like what I'm doing here, make sure to like this video, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications. It's the best way to support the channel and keep me caffeinated enough to make the next one. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.